All right. You know, one thing I've noticed I've not done in any of these videos is to fucking say my name. You know, that's probably very fucking
People,
important. So
people
this
like,
is, I don't know his name, but it's a channel. Just look for the name of it.
yeah,
Now,
they're like, we're the dude with the dress. The
basically,
Nightmare on Elm
right.
Street posters.
So this will be episode 4 actually, everybody. So I'm Adrian now. A lot of my California friends will refer to me as G sometimes, but so lots of guests on the show will refer to me as both. But tonight Zach is back again, and we're just going to do basically a movie review of Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and Part 3, just because they're my personal favorites out of the franchise, and then like a slight recap on of Bly Manor, because I don't know, I kind of felt some kind of ways about how that shit went down. But anyway, and we're not. I mean, it'll probably take too long sitting there doing it one at a time. So, whenever we're doing these questions or whatever, just feel free to jump back between both movies. Um, Also, this interview here specifically is featuring my children. What do you need? Nice. um, so from out of either movie, what was your? Because were you saying it was your first time watching? Well, your first time like as an adult really paying attention to the first one. And then I assume a first watch in general for the third.
Yeah, for me, Nightmare on Elm Street had always been one of those where like I'd seen like the Freddy Krueger kills like online, but I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
sat down and watched it all the way through start to finish.
Right.
Um, I feel like having actually seen it start to finish now, that's probably like the concept of Nightmare on Elm Street is probably the scariest of like the '80s slashers.
That's what I think. Just because, like I said in the last interview, sleep is a very fucked up thing to take away from someone as as a weapon, I guess, so to say. So that's just what's always been. I mean, I guess not as like super scary because you know it was in the '80s and graphics were what they were and shit like that. So not
I
like
think a lot of
super
the music they
terrifying.
used just killed the mood. Like it was like, why are
Yeah,
y'all playing like this like kind of techno upbeat while Freddy Krueger's trying to kill Nancy?
yeah. Poor Nancy.
You,
Let me
well,
see. Let me see.
if they left the series at just the first one, at just Nightmare on Elm Street, do you feel like, because obviously the characters come back and stuff, but do you feel like, how do you feel like that ending?
Hi. Looking good, girl. Hey! What's going on? Hey, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. What's going on with the window?
How would you have read that ending? Because it's very like
I
she
don't.
hasn't escaped. It's up
I
in the
don't.
air.
Yeah, I don't. I don't like shit like that. I think they just wanted to. Maybe they weren't really thinking about it, and they wanted to like just as a crew, just have Freddy Krueger come out one last time or something. Like just fucking around with cool effects, wanting to do something to just fuck with people, and kind of maybe leave them in that suspense of there may be a sequel, they may not.
Mhm.
Um, but personally, I hate endings when it's like sort of up to you, where it's like what really did happen. Unless you know for sure that there's going to be a sequel. Like unless you know for sure there's going to be one. Like I don't like movies that like kind of end off like that. I love Nightmare on Elm Street, but I felt like it honestly could have just ended whenever her and her dad um, realize that it all happened and killed him and shit like that. Whenever she caught him in the booby traps or whatever, that would have been a great way to end it off as sort of like a we won thing. And then if they didn't know if they wanted to do a sequel or not, they could have just like sort of post credits like I don't know, like some other kid is having a nightmare about him or something like that. But I mean, but to do it directly with that cast, I mean, well, now that I'm thinking about it, in a sense, it kind of would tie into three because that's personally what I like about three is the fact that Nancy's back. Because part two is, I don't know, it was just, I mean, I'll have to watch it after we do this because I don't watch it often. Like I toughed through it once, so you notice I say I toughed through it. It's like I don't know.
I'm looking at the plot for two right now.
It was just weird because I'm just like, where the hell is Nancy? You know, and then, but I mean, the fact that she comes back in part three as the doctor and that like she knows how to hop into their dreams and stuff, it shows that clearly there was something like, you know, she did have another like tussle with Freddy Krueger at some point. If she's like as an adult now, she's like mastered like dream hopping and shit like that. Like she knew exactly what to do. So maybe like I don't know, they should have left part two alone and just had it been like something to do with him coming back with Nancy and like some other children or something like that. And maybe they should have like shown her. I mean, because like as much as she overacts a bit.
Dude, honestly,
it's a bit much. That's like my favorite thing about like just being stoned and looking at that shit. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. But like,
yeah, it's really bad.
But she's the fucking hero though. Like she came back and like shut shit down in part three, and that was like the most exciting part for me because I think I was in like, yeah, I was a senior actually when I saw it. So I didn't even know that there was like fucking 8 movies or whatever the fucking I was up scrolling one night and I saw this. It was like Dream Warriors, and it was on when I clicked on the channel, it was on the scene of the hospital. Whenever they're in the hospital, the kid that the little puppet master death scene, it was on that, and I was like, what the fuck? Like that was just like some brutal shit to see at like 2:00.
Fella, wake up.
Morning randomly. So like I stayed up because it was coming back on a loop. So I stayed up and watched it. It was a dope concept. It's almost like Matrixy in a sense, like Nancy in a way she kind of like plugs everybody in the dream world and teaches them how to fight back and everything like that. That's what I like mostly about 3. I like a horror movie when the people fight back because too much just like senseless running around is just like it gets to be predictable and it's you're gonna die. Like I know you're about to die, literally any second. You're making too much fucking noise. But like when they actually try and they have plans and like they set up for it, it was almost like fucking Matrix meets Home Alone or some shit like that when you watch part 3.
I was gonna say that,
like,
I didn't realize how much Home Alone was in the original Nightmare on Elm Street because I hadn't ever seen any of the stuff about like the sledgehammer before.
Yeah, it was dope.
When you got hit by it, it was like, all right, that stopped him for like 1 second. She had like this whole montage of setting it up. All right, that wasn't really effective.
Let me go back over here.
Oh, that mom's drinking problem. Like they were
in every fucking movie.
They're so like
in every
on the nose
movie,
about it.
They're just like clearly sleeping with some just ain't shit dude, and like their child's nightmare is interrupting their sex at the beginning of every movie. So, or at least at the beginning of part 1 and part 3. And then she's like trying to console her daughter, and then like the drunk boyfriend's coming in like put her to bed and all this and let's go. And I'm just like, God, damn, like
so,
like
that's so
that, like right in front of her.
It's so blatant. Like, I don't even know what to call it. 80s. I feel like that. I guess it's probably out.
That's sadly relevant to today too. Probably that's pretty fucking. I was just like, damn, just loud and drunk.
I think he uses the word sack. You coming back to the sack?
Yeah. And then
This
like
is
the fact
not
that she notices
stereotypical.
there's like huge cuts in her dress, and she's like, "You need to cut your fingernails." I'm just like, you are doing more than drinking right now. Like you're on something else. Like what the, what is going on with that?
Dream, Ma. Some dream, judging from that.
Coming back to the sack or what?
Hedge horses. See now, honey, you gotta cut your fingernails. You gotta stop that kind of dreaming. One or the other.
I like the deputy when Nancy was like she was trying to catch Freddy at the end, and she had busted out like the windows, but the bars were still in place. She's like,
Yeah,
"Get my dad," and he's like, "I think maybe I should get the chief."
yeah, they're
like
just like so.
like 2 minutes like after she started, like
I
yeah, I think
stood in the
maybe you
mirror
should.
all night and practiced this one line.
You made it.
Oh damn! Not even 30 seconds. Like he really needed that 5 seconds to stretch out. That was dumb. Speaking of the moms though, the mom in the first one pissed me off. Just the fact that like when it gets to the end of it and you know that she knew, I was just like, what the fuck are you? Why would you just like people could die clearly? But I mean, I guess the mom didn't know about the whole dreaming aspect of it, but like still like she knew something clearly was going the fuck on. Like I don't know, it just pissed me off.
I think the other thing that makes Nightmare on Elm Street kind of a scarier premise than like Friday the 13th or something is the backstory. Like he murdered 20 kids and they burnt him alive.
Yeah,
That's a fucking brutal. That's a
that
brutal
was.
backstory. Like that's an evil character that you got right off the bat.
But 20 kids though. I mean, like that's fucking like he was either doing it for some years or there was just like a couple of years maybe or something like that. I don't know. Like that's a lot. 20 before anybody does anything about it. You know what I mean? Like that was a lot. Unless he was taking them like in groups maybe. Either way you think about it, kidnapping children and killing them is fucking it's dark. It's brutal.
Have you seen Mindhunter?
That's the one with the Shy got into it. I like watched it alongside her sometimes, like because she had already started it and shit like that. But like that's the one with all the was
Serial
it
killers.
the FBI whenever they was like when they start the interviews on serial killers or they start like they invent profiling or some shit like that, right?
Yeah, they try to basically
Yeah, I got into a little bit of it.
psychoanalyze them before.
The the one thing in particular I remember is there was a pretty good monologue scene in the prison where the dude kills that bird and shit or whatever. Or did he eat it or what the fuck? I
It
don't
was like
remember.
his
But I
pet
know what you're
bird.
talking about though. Yeah,
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 I feel like because the second season deals like with a child serial killer, so that's what made me
oh
think of it.
really?
But I feel like that's like a cool or not cool, but that's like a good example of like real life horror, like something that's like taking real life events, but it's still like kind of a horror series.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess that kind of would prove why the mom has a drinking problem. I mean, I guarantee, like, if something like that were to happen in, like, in real life, I mean, and it does happen, but like, I'm sure the town as a whole went through a very dark, just fucking depressing period. Um, but then again, one thing that doesn't make sense to me is if the whole town did it, you know what I mean? Like, why did so many like have a hard time putting two and two the fuck together? You know what I mean? Like the mom knew right off the bat. But if like the whole like why did the whole town or at least like the police or like any of the older like the chief or anybody because like the police were clearly involved in that too. You know what I mean? The shit made the paper. You know, like it's in the local
Mm-hmm.
newspaper, like in the intro and shit. So
Right, Mr. Thompson
why did more
and
people
the
not know
chief.
what the fuck could be going on or like why did everybody act like she was such a fucking psychopath? Like more than
Realistic
just the
answer.
one mom had to know, and like the neighbors too. It didn't make like I mean I guess they could have moved houses and shit like that, but I mean it couldn't be the same neighbors. But I felt like the neighbors not really fucking with their not having her back there at the end was just kind of like, dude, y'all would know too. Like if everyone was in on it, like next door neighbors would know.
You knew about him all this time.
And you've been acting like it was something I made up.
But I mean, that's like one of those small things, like. But you need them to not know, I guess, for the movie to work. Like,
I was gonna say, just like there's plot armor, there's plot stupidity, where there's just stuff that's like, why isn't this talked about? Because it would kind of poke a hole in the movie. It would just make it to where it's like, oh shit, we got to come up with something to deal with that now. So it's just easier to pretend like.
So yeah, there has to be
like the same thing for how all the responses are done. So like someone like listened to the fact like all these kids are saying that like they're being chased by a murderer in their sleep and they keep dying in their sleep. Just like.
And they're all having the same fucking dream of the dude dressed the same. Yeah, just like the guy that all the parents killed. They knew what the fuck was going on. But that was just one of those things. Like, there has to be like a certain degree of shit not making sense for like there to be a reason for the plot to continue, I guess, like in a way. Because if they all known it, then they would have just like came clean and shut it down, I guess, and there wouldn't have been much of a movie because everyone would have been on guard for it. But it would have been a very short movie. Like if a black person moved into the Conjuring house, like they would have left like the next day when the dog didn't come inside died,
oh, no.
and crows were hitting the fucking windows and shit like that. When it got the fuck up out there.
What's that black actress in Scary Movie? What's her name? You know what I'm talking about?
I can't think of the name. I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah.
When they all kill her for being loud and they're like naming off movies that black people have ruined in a movie theater and shit. Get back to the ratings. We kind of went over the common sense level. We like kind of just debunked that whole shit. That was something I had on here to talk about. Like in either movie, were there any like scenes in particular that like stood out to you to where like you could like I kind of see why some shit like this would be like considered a classic? Did she just burp? She's all right. Okay.
I feel like the first death. I feel like the first death is like from that moment on, like that franchise is going to be successful. Basically, like what's her friend's name again?
When they kill
Tina.
Tina, yeah. But yeah, oh yeah, and speaking of Tina, like, so she's scared of the guy or whatever the hell, and then Tina and Rod, they get into a fight, which I didn't even know that was a real fight. Like, he said, like,
yeah, that was like that whole relationship like is weird. Like,
the thing was, I didn't understand it. I was like, I didn't realize that was a fight. Like, me and Shai talk to each other like that. Like, I don't know. We say worse shit than that to each other. That's like, this is joke. I thought they were kidding around. Like, nothing about her gave off that was a fight. Like, they just. So then I was like, so when he shows up to the house that night, and I'm just like, and he's like starts apologizing and shit, and I was like, but what did you do? I was like, what the fuck happened? I mean, like, I guess he was being like. He was being like douchey about like, oh, he said about how like he woke up with the heart on or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was like, that?
I was like, oh, that was just a joke because they were like, I had a dream about a killer. I had a fucking wet dream.
Honestly,
like, you know what I mean? Like, I was thinking about you this morning. I was horny. Like. Yeah. I mean, that was douchey, but like nothing that they said gave off that they were upset. Like they kind of just like kept walking to school together until they got to his little spot, and then he took off. I didn't really understand that was a fight. But anyway, back to he's over there. They're upstairs fucking, and you cannot invite me over to hang out with you because you're scared and go upstairs and get railed out. Like that doesn't make sense. And then why was the friend down there and like. Johnny Depp just wasn't getting any. I don't understand why. I was like, they're doing it, and she's like, no, we're here to protect them. The fuck? So why are they up there? They feel pretty safe to me. I mean, nobody's asleep yet. I didn't understand that either. I mean, that was just I didn't understand none of that. I was just like, man, you had me over here and you up there doing all of that. I don't understand why would me doing the same thing downstairs. It's the least I could do. But scenes
Think about
that stood out to
Johnny
me
Depp
though.
stuff.
What's up? Oh yeah, his death too. That was a bit much. I just don't feel like personally there's that much blood in the human body. I mean,
No,
I
without a
but
doubt.
I get what they were trying to do, and I mean, I guess back then, if you were to had watched the movie back then, just that they were able to create that special effect, I bet was pretty fucking crazy. And
You know
it
that they
probably
filmed
threw
that upside
everybody
down?
off. No, I did not know that actually.
I don't even remember where I heard this from, but like they made like the set of his room upside down, and they just like poured in a bunch of blood, which is why like if you look at it along the edges, like you see it pooling out like against like the ceiling, basically, like not coming like falling from the ceiling, pretty much. That's because it's all upside down.
Did not know that. I'll have to look into that and see how they filmed that. And probably just like if I can find a good enough clip of it to record, just like throw it in here, um, or at least the death scene itself.
I feel like that's both like a really famous one, but also I feel like they should have shown his body. I feel like I don't know, like it's more scary if you see like what his body looked like afterwards versus just
Yeah,
like it
or
disappeared.
like
That's the other thing. Did they have a body?
pieces of his body. Maybe they didn't, because like I don't know if you remember, like whenever the cops or the paramedics show up and they bring out the stretcher and the cops like, you
Yeah.
don't need that, you need a mop, and
Yeah.
everybody and like
Yeah.
everybody's all freaking out, and all, the officers in the bathroom literally throwing up, and they said the
Yeah.
paramedics been in the bathroom throwing up since he got there and shit like that. So I think it was just intended to be more scary, the fact that there was nothing left of him except blood. But I mean, I feel like maybe like some guts or something, or like a finger or like a foot or something like left, some sort of visual mark other than like the blood spilling. That's obviously fake as shit. Because that just would never go down like that. Which I guess a part of that was maybe that he was dreaming, because they don't show what he was dreaming. So like, there's no telling how he died. I mean, he could have thrown him in a fucking wood chipper, and it would have been a little more. That shit could be shooting up on the fucking roof like that. But I mean, I'll give him that. They did not show how he killed him. It wasn't his dream. So I mean, I don't know. But I think three had the more like iconic death scenes, I guess, like the Welcome to Primetime bitch when he fucking the TV just like snags her into it and shit. And like I mentioned before, the first scene that I saw from it, the puppet master thing, like that was
Yeah,
some
I think
pretty
the puppet one might
gory
be the
shit.
best.
Like that was
Yeah.
kind of disturbing, like either way you think about it. Like that's one thing
Yeah.
I was like, man, I really would love a reboot of Dream Warriors, like a good one. I mean, because the Friday the 13th reboot, I want to say what 2010, like it was good. There's just something about the like I don't know, like something about his face. He just looked more. I mean, and people will argue that he looked more like a burn victim than Freddy did. Because I mean, I get Freddy. I guess it didn't look all that. You know what I mean? It just
Yeah.
looked more zombie-ish and shit like
Yeah.
that. Maybe more scarred up. But the new one, he did. I mean, I'll give him that. It did look more burn victim-ish. However, like I don't know, dude's face, man, he just looked like fucking like the naked mole rat from Kim Possible. Essentially, I couldn't get with it. It wasn't as scary just because it didn't look the same to me.
As much as the
Um,
face. Yeah, I'm
the
looking at it
story
again
and
right now.
the story, like the acting and everything, was like the right amount of corny for like that early to mid 2000s, which is like one thing I personally like about that era of horror movies. Was none of that shit made sense, and there was just so much screaming and corny acting and titties and just not just like meaning just It is great to get stoned and laugh at. Like it's one of my favorite fucking things to do. That's why I watch Final Destination so goddamn much. It's just so unbelievable.
Final Destination, man.
They
They
push
can't
it,
decide if
but I
it's a
love them,
comedy or a
man.
horror movie.
I love them. What else did I have in there? Oh yeah, the bathtub scene was weird to me. Um, the way that they just kind of played that off because she was obviously screaming for help, and then when
Yeah,
so like when they
yeah.
opened the door,
That's what I
why
mean
would you
about plot
not?
stupidity.
I'm just like, man, that was like the perfect time to give her another example of what the hell you've been talking about was going on, but instead you're just like, nah, nothing. I wasn't just screaming, and the mom's
Yeah.
dumbass believes it. Like, how drunk do you got to be to believe? Oh yeah, I must have just been hearing shit. No, bitch, like you heard, you fucking. You came to the door because you heard like you were knocking on the door for a while. Like if you watch that scene, I don't think they meant for it to go on that long, but she's under that water screaming and shit for like a good little while there. I don't know if they just wanted like the close up on the titty there for the side view.
I was gonna
Somebody was
say,
just,
yeah,
like
from the side
lingering for too fucking long or what, but she was under that water for a good minute. Or not necessarily submerged, but she was in there struggling and shit for a while with her mom knocking on the door. So I mean, like, obviously, oh, must just heard it. No, like, I don't know. That whole thing was just stupid to me. I sound like I
I feel
don't like this movie right now. The more that I really do.
I think you end
It's
up
just that
criticizing this
80s, man.
like
It's
the
just
most.
where it is, man.
I
But
think it's a small complaint, but also just the fact that he was even like sleeping in the bathtub was just weird. Like you're putting yourself in a position where it's gonna make like a cool horror scene, which
yeah, that's
it's
one of
cool,
those
but
things
like
that you
it's
just
like
have to do
who
it
sleeps in the
for them to
fucking
have another
bathtub?
scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more ways for like him to like haunt people down in the bathroom. Like he does it in the guy dies. I mean, so I guess they kind of pay homage to that. One of the kids, I don't know if you've seen the reboot, but one of the kids dies in the bathtub that way. I forget exactly what the fuck he does to him now that I'm thinking about it. Damn. It was something fucked up and hard to watch that kind of reminded me of the Puppet Master scene in 3. That's all I remember is that it reminds me of that scene
I
a lot.
needed Jason to kill for me to get them to remember. But now he just won't stop. That hockey puck.
And I'll give him that aspect too. In the 2010 one, man, was the gore level. It was actually pretty good. It didn't look like fake or anything like that. That I just could not get with that guy's face as Freddy Krueger. That's honestly my only complaint from it. I enjoyed watching it. I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
And the gore is like more modernized, so like I mean, it's almost like a better watch, but nothing really will beat 3 in my eyes unless they fucking reboot it and do it right and like do it really really fucking good. I don't even know who they would cast in that shit.
Yeah, I feel like 3 is such an 80s movie. Like you got the kid in the wheelchair like turning into the wizard, casting
Yeah.
like magic bolts and stuff. Like I think they could do a cool gritty like dream fighting concept that isn't as like 80s and campy.
Yeah, and that's
Also,
the other
just
aspect I liked about it, man.
Freddy, I
That's,
feel like
that's that Matrix shit I was talking about.
hmm I feel like with Freddy Krueger versus Jason, like I feel like they almost like set it up for like there to be a reason for you to want Jason to kill like whoever he ends up killing. Whereas I feel like with like Freddy Krueger, like he's going after like former
Yeah, and that's
addicts
the thing. Like,
and like a
well,
kid in a
have you?
wheelchair.
Yeah.
It's like, damn man, just chill.
Have you
Like, come on.
have you seen any of the Friday the 13th movies?
Some of them, yeah.
There's some of my favorite ones as far as like when I say like I like a good horror movie where people fight back. Like as soon as they figure out what the fuck is going on, at least I know for sure up in the like in the first three for sure. As soon as they figure out what the fuck is going on, like they don't just run away from him and scream and shit like that. Like when it gets to like the final three or four standing, that like no, clearly this motherfucker is like killing everybody, and that's what's been going on. And that's where all the dead bodies we keep running into come from. They start to kind of like Home Alone the shit, and try to fight back. A couple of them like try to fist fight him and shit. Like they try to kill him. Like I like that aspect that they're not. I mean, they're helpless because he ain't gonna fucking die, and he's just like awkwardly strong as fuck, like just like unbeatable. But I mean, they do try. Like they do fight back. They think about it. I think it's the end of the first one, I believe. I want to say, I can't remember if it's the first or second. I get them mixed up all the time. I want to say it's the end of the first one, where the girl is like, she ends up hiding from him like in a hay barn, but she had a whole little plot set up for if he came up there and caught him and shit, as far as like hitting them with like, I believe it was like a rake or something like that. Anyway, like that girl fought for her life. I mean, there was some annoying that 80s like screaming and like crying and shit like some of that Nancy shit. But she was fighting for her fucking life though, man. She got him too. I mean, she made it to the second movie, which is more than the rest of the fucking cast did. But I mean, I did like that. It was a very long, drawn out fight sequence with her and Jason. That was personally my favorite one out of there. Out of the first three, at least. I need to refresh on the rest of them, honestly. I mean, we could do that one next. But I mean, Friday the 13th. I mean, I love Nightmare on Elm Street, but I think Friday the 13th, just the intensity of the fighting back, I think it beats it out as more. And then it gets a little more campy too, so it makes for a better stoned watch. It's a lot more laughable. Away just and then you get a lot more of the 80s dialogue and shit like that, and like in the way they flirted back then, it was just like very like rapey.
That's why I agree with that. Yeah,
I was like,
I agree with that. Not knowing that the scene was a fight, like the whole like I woke up with a boner. It's like
I was like,
that's like kind of like all these like 80s douchebag
so that kind of talking
like,
is bad, but
kind of flirt.
straight up saying, "Hey, let's go." Like that was kind of like the vibe they were giving off in Friday the 13th. Some of those dudes, they were just like, we're going to do it eventually. And I'm just like, damn, did you get a name? Did you get a body count? Did you do it? You're just like, yo.
That's got to be intentional to make it to where you don't empathize with those characters.
Yeah, because they were douchey
like,
as fuck. I was just like, what the hell?
I think that makes
and the girls just like not saying no and shit like that.
Because it makes you feel less sorry for the characters, like versus like sorry, like killing.
I didn't feel for them because they either made stupid ass decisions or they were like really douchey. But either way, that franchise is really good to laugh at because the deaths are. I mean, they get pretty gory. They don't start out being the greatest and having the greatest effects, but as the movies progress, like they get a lot more gory and a lot more dark as far as like the way he's killing these people off and shit like that. So it's like lots of like what the fuck moments and lots of just like laughable moments because it's just like who thinks to do some crazy shit like that? Like he kills this one lady in the fucking
space.
In the hot tub. Yeah, no. It was I think it was like part 4. They were doctors. They were like in the hot tub or something, and he just like burned her face. It kept turning the hot tub temperature up and just crazy shit that like fucking. It's like who's sitting up thinking of this shit on the fucking fly, like melting somebody's face into a fucking hot tub or whatever the fuck that thing was. Um, but let's progress this a little bit because what you only have so much time.
Time is it?
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
we need to kind
about
of
10,
wrap this
15
one up.
minutes.
So I felt like you paid more attention to it because I didn't like it as much as Hill House. So I kind of just like watched it just to get it over with in a sense. I did like certain aspects of the second half of it, I guess. And a lot of things made sense from the first half, and it made it click more. But I'll let you kind of just. I felt like you paid a lot more the fuck attention to it than I did, because I kind of just needed to have watched it already, because I was taking a minute with it.
So I feel like the common elements between Hill House and Bly Manor, obviously a haunted location, but also like being stuck in a place and like being stuck in time.
Mm-hmm.
And some people probably don't care for this. Some people probably like it about it. They try to tie in like emotion and like love into like that aspect of like being stuck in a place. Like I thought that the first season was
Yeah.
really good, but I thought that the end it kind of got too cheery too quickly. Like the whole idea of like we're gonna be
But
here.
yeah,
Baby's good.
yeah,
Like
she's
the
just
whole
vocal lately, very
we got to
vocal.
get her on the show, man. Just get her on
Basically,
here early.
she's cutting
But
in right now.
when we do Friday the 13th. But yeah, like the ending of the first season, I feel like it got like super sentimental, super quick, like kind of out of nowhere. And for me, that felt jarring, and like it got too like optimistic. Whereas like the whole thing up to that seemed like it was not optimistic. But once like the mom, the dad, and then I think Nellie, they were all together. It was like a
Yeah.
family thing. And I was
Mhm.
like, this is weird. Like this was like a horror show like an episode or two ago. Now it's like a happy ending almost. And I feel like this one
Yeah.
was similar but better executed. Like it was more
Yeah.
believable that like the
This
ending was
ending
sort of
made a lot more
happy.
sense as soon as they revealed who the lady of the lake was and that whole backstory, like the movie finally like it all finally fucking made sense. Like it made sense. And then once when they told her story, well, like it started to make sense whenever what's his name? The thief. Damn, I'm blanking right now.
Yeah, I can't recall right now either. It's been a couple of weeks since I watched
If
it.
you watched it, y'all know who we're talking about. But
Peter Quint. Peter Quint.
yeah, Peter Quint. There was a moment where he showed as soon as he said that like their faces faded because they've been here too long or whatever the fuck. Then all it's like all that shit started to almost make sense. And then once you get to the end and they have the Lady of the Lake backstory, then I was like, oh, okay, so this bitch has just been here fucking forever and is like running shit clearly to some fucking extent. And then she just like starts appearing, snatching motherfuckers up and shit like that, just throat grabbing people. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, so she's the one that's like in charge of the house, I guess. Like she has this shit locked the fuck down. Like, and then once they start revealing her more in the end and everything like concludes, and I'm just like, okay, so the whole thing made a lot more sense. Then people could leave and shit like that. Like, but I think they did really well, as you say. The execution this time around was really good, but I still think they pushed the love story too hard, like to where most people I mean, it kind of just like weren't expecting some shit like that because I felt like the first one did better in the first half, and then it was the
Yeah.
opposite the way when it comes to season two. Just like the ending on the first half was weird. I personally, maybe I'm just fucked up, but I would have liked it to end a lot more dark. I mean, like, would like to understand
Yeah.
what was going on,
Honestly, man.
but had they just kept that darker theme going, like I felt like that would have just been like, damn, what the fuck are they going to do next? But then I would have been pissed off, and it was a fucking love story.
Yeah. I
But
think what I was saying about the time warp thing, I
it
feel
was
like
still
that's an
good.
element of like horror that really messes with me. like when people are trapped in like for example, I was thinking of, I don't know which Nightmare on Elm Street it is, but like when it's revealed that like Freddy has like all the souls of like the people he's killed, like that
Yeah.
idea of like being trapped like for an afterlife, not going anywhere. So I think when they did that in the first season with the bent neck lady, and like the time loop aspect of like her seeing herself as the ghost and herself as a ghost seeing herself as a kid, like that
Yeah.
messed with me. And that aspect, I feel like they could have got really dark with.
I think personally, um, just in TV shows in general these days, um, like flashback sequences and time travel and shit like that, they tend to fuck it up and like do too much with it, and then it's just like it leaves you just like too unknowledgeable of like when they're going to do which. But this time around, it like after a couple of times after they start doing it with the maid, after they start doing her little time trial thing, and then you kind of get what's going on, and then once the little girl fucking she has her little, she wakes up and tells them that she was stuck in a memory and that she wants to go to a dream this time instead and shit like that, then you're like, okay, so you're able to kind of catch on. Oh shit, excuse me, when it happens to everybody, like you start to be more aware of it. It's not as confusing when they time jump. It's not annoying. Like it made sense. Like they did it really good. Don't necessarily care for love stories and shit like that. But I mean, that's just me personally. A lot of people do though too. Or else it wouldn't be like a fucking genre clearly. But I mean, as far as something that I don't necessarily care for, but still making it to where I didn't necessarily feel like turning the shit off. You know what I mean? Like I felt like it was worth investing my time into. I liked the way that they did it. I liked the way they filmed it. I liked the way they just made everything make sense. They just did a really fucking good job with it, and it's like something I don't particularly care for. And like I said, I really just kind of watched it just because like we needed to talk about it for the channel. It wasn't something I was necessarily. I mean, like I was waiting around for it, but after some of the reviews and stuff, I got kind of. I was like, I could wait on it. You know, I don't have to do it right now. Except that I told people I was going to, so we can get this review in and shit like that.
Homework.
Right? It's my homework essentially, but I mean, yeah, I mean they did a really badass job with it. It was dope. Um,
I like
I'm just
Dylan's
hoping that
character a
whatever
lot.
they do next will be like fucking uh, darker though. I hope they go back to that. And then especially since it was more of a Halloween time frame, I was thinking they would keep it kind of darker anyway, with an October release. But I mean, like I said, though, it was good. Oh, the only part that really got me though, that made me jump, was when it goes back to uh, the two original sisters in the house. After she kills her sister and she's playing with that dress down in the basement, and the fucking hands pop out and choke her. That shit, that did make me jump. Something about that, I did not see that shit coming. I was actually watching it, and they were all laughing at me and shit. But like, man, I fucking jumped up. So I was watching it over here at the table. I jumped up. I was high as fuck too, and I was just like, God damn. I was like, whoa. I was like, this has not been scary at all the whole time. This has been so watchable. And then just bam, she just popped out and strangled that bitch, and I was like, oh my God.
It kind
Other
of
than,
it kind of got resolved, but I feel like the guy, her former fiance, like the big round glasses, like with
oh yeah,
the
that's the
truck
one thing
lights
I
were
did. I
flashing.
figured that shit
That
out
was
quick. As soon as she dumped him, and like it just seemed like it seemed like as soon as she dumped him, traffic just got terrible outside that fucking window, and just like shit was going. And then I was like, I was thinking about his glasses, and I was like, oh shit! I was like, he's about to fucking get hit. And as soon as he opens his door, like immediately on some
he didn't look.
fucking
He didn't
like
look both ways. He just was
on
pissed. He
some
opened the door.
hereditary shit, he just comes out and bam, and I was like, that was it. And then
Take the L.
they kind of hinted that she was a lesbian already too, though. Whenever she was getting the dress fitted on her and girl was patting on her all low and shit, and they did that little awkward, I don't know if you caught on to that, but they did that little awkward smile at each other, and then she was just like, "Yeah, your family's weird, dude. I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't know how to tell you I'm leaving
I
you
like
because I want to
girls.
experiment with women." But um, I was just like, "Damn." And then he dies, and then you got to live with that secret and let the family like His family came by to give her the glasses, and I was like, oh
yeah,
damn. I was like, no, go ahead, tell her you dumped him.
yeah. I was gonna say, it's like,
I was like, no, go
like
ahead and tell her.
on the one
Oh
hand,
man.
like she, she feels guilt. On the other hand, she's not responsible for him freaking out like that. Like it's her
Yeah.
right to not want to be married to him, and like he like freaking out and just like running into traffic is like
But clearly
shouldn't run
because of
into
the way he
traffic.
raised it, yeah, that I mean, fuck it. And like clearly there was something just that was just going to be off with him. Like they were just supposed to be friends, I guess. You know what I mean? Like he was clearly like socially awkward. And his family was just like the exact opposite type of socially awkward than he was. They were just like way too involved with fucking everything. So like I mean, I kind of could see why she was like, yeah, I'm up out of there. But to do it right at the end, I mean, like, like they had to have been annoying as fuck, like your whole life. You know what I mean? That's just one
Yeah,
of those things we
yeah,
talked about too,
that
though,
is kind of shitty.
as far as like, those plot holes where it's like, okay, we need this to be all of a sudden for there to be a reason for him to hop out and just fucking get hit by this car right now. But I mean, like they was annoying your whole fucking life. Like y'all were best fucking friends. Like why you wait until after the rehearsal dinner to be like, hey
By the
man, this past 24 years I loved your family, but tonight like that I no. I cannot do it, man. I was like, damn, okay, so get married and move away. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. But what are you thinking next time we get together? Jumping into Friday the 13th? Because I'm kind of wanting to kind of stick to some 80s.
I'm cool with that. The last time I'd watched any of them was back in March, because I think March had a Friday the 13th. So I remember I watched some of them then.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get back into those. Watch those again. Oh, one random one one random thing about Bly Manor. You know how they're at a wedding and it's the older gardener, the older version of the gardener telling the story to like the
Yeah,
young
yeah, yeah,
couple,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
actually
yeah.
it's actually homegirl and like the guy she's getting married to. The fiance is played by Greg Sestero, who is best known as Mark from The Room, the Tommy Wiseau movie.
The
You know what I'm
Room. I
talking
don't know
about?
if I've seen that one
You
necessarily.
never heard of The Room? It's if you Google The Room, I guarantee you, like you'll see an image of it, and you'll
Oh,
if you've
that
seen it.
disaster movie thing
Yeah, the
that
disaster
was like the
artist movie.
shittiest movie in the world or some shit.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. I'm with you now. I
Like
was
the
thinking
best
like
friends
scary
40.
movies for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. So
That's
he
something I
starred in
didn't see it. Yeah, he's like he's so it's Tommy Wiseau. I forget his character's name, and then Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. He's like the guy that like he
I
has all
still
the
haven't
awkward
sat.
dialogue. Which
I've seen
makes
like some scenes, but I still haven't sat down and like I can't force myself to watch that. That's like if I want somebody to talk, like I'll just make them watch that on repeat forever. That's like some interrogation room shit. Like I don't know if I could just purposefully do
I
that
got
to
like 10
myself.
minutes in. I'm like, this is just not. I'm not on enough. I'm not on enough mushrooms or acid or something even worse, like something that's like going to cause like. I feel like
Right. That's like a sober mushroom trip
nah,
watching that. Just like talking, listen to people talk like that. Just like, what the fuck are you saying right now? Damn.
So yeah, that's Mark, the fiance.
Explaining some of the plot holes too. He was associated with the shit.
I'm looking at his
Some
Wikipedia
stuff
page,
didn't
and it's
make
literally
sense.
just like he's known for his role as Mark in the 2003 cult film The Room. He also appeared as a fiance in the 2020 miniseries The Haunting of Bly Manor. Two things.
At least he
And
has a
some more.
Wikipedia page. I mean, he made it
Yeah,
somewhat. He made
yeah,
some money too. Made a little bit of money. But shit, I guess we'll start Friday the 13th. And then I guess talk about the first, what, like 2 or 3 for the first one at least, and then progress into them, or jump to something else, to another slasher.
I mean, if we're doing 80s horror, The Shining is 1980. If you want to consider that, it's not slasher really.
That too. I mean,
Always down to do
let's do that one next actually, because that was the one that you're gonna take the lead on, because that's your equivalent to my Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And just give a like legit class on it.
Did you saw Doctor Sleep?
Do that one first. Yeah, I love Doctor Sleep. I got Shy to watch it actually. Trying to get her to like these fucking scary movies. We watched. I mean, I put her through The Craft. That's a badass one. There was something else she had watched. Try to get her to watch Oculus. That's a good one. Like Oculus or Don't Breathe. I feel like as a start. You know what I mean? I feel like she can handle that shit. Yeah. Oh man, but I don't know if you care for the gore in Green Room though. Fucking
that's true.
Box cutters and German attack dogs and putting duct tape directly up. And we don't even talk about this shit. That I've never seen anyone think of bandaging up something like that. Like his arm was falling off, and we'll just wrap duct tape around bare flesh and just like what the
fuck? Get that shit off.
No, like that. Oh my god, that. The only terrible thing about that movie, that was a perfect ass movie too. That was good. The thing about it that really was just like, and then they tried to call the cops right in front of everybody. But yeah, I guess I will. I'll rewatch The Shining. Probably jump in Doctor Sleep too. And then we'll let you just give your little class on The Shining.